Hamas rejects UN resolution, says it falls short of Palestinian demands. Trump warns of possible strikes on Mexican drug cartels after both attacks. China halts Japanese film releases over Taiwan dispute. ICC prosecutors seek life sentence for sudden axe murder. Good afternoon, welcome to the World in 30 Minutes on Politics and Business Television. I'm Fatima Abubakar Oibo. Many thanks for joining us. Details of this news stories and more content to come after the short break. Stay with us. Hamas has criticized the latest United Nations resolution, declaring that it does not adequately address the rights and demands of the Palestinian people. The group argued that the resolution fails to confront the root causes of the conflict, including occupation and displacement, and does not provide a clear path towards justice and self-determination. Hamas leaders insist that the international community must take stronger action to ensure Palestinians' legitimate aspirations are recognized and protected. The statement comes amid heightened tensions in the region, with calls for accountability and lasting peace continuing to dominate global discussions. Hamas emphasized that symbolic resolutions without concrete enforcement mechanisms only prolong suffering and undermine trust in international institutions. The group reiterated its position that any meaningful solution must prioritize the rights of Palestinians and deliver tangible progress towards sovereignty and freedom. While the United Nations Security Council's approval of a new plan for Gaza has sparked mixed reactions across the international community, supporters argue the resolution is a step towards easing humanitarian suffering and creating conditions for peace, while critics say it falls short of addressing the root causes of the conflict. Some nations welcome the move as a necessary intervention to stabilize the region, while others question its effectiveness without stronger enforcement measures. In Gaza and beyond, responses have been equally divided, with relief agencies cautiously optimistic about improved access for aid and political groups voicing skepticism over whether the plan will deliver lasting change. Observers note that the resolution highlights the deep divisions among global powers on how best to resolve the crisis, underscoring the challenges of balancing humanitarian needs with political realities in one of the world's most volatile regions. Still speaking United States, the House of Representatives has voted on the release of files for transparency, with many demanding accountability and answers about how Epstein operated for so long without facing justice. Observers know that the release of these files could spark fresh investigations and reignite debate about institutional failures surrounding the case. Analysts caution, however, that while the documents may provide new details, they may not immediately resolve lingering questions about Epstein's connections and the role of powerful figures. The House action signals a significant step towards disclosure, but the full impact will depend on how much information is ultimately made public. While former Harvard University President Larry Summers has publicly apologized following revelations of email exchanges with disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, Summers acknowledged that his correspondence with Epstein was inappropriate and expressed regret for the judgment lapse, stressing that he never intended to cause harm or undermine trust in the institution. The apology comes amid renewed scrutiny of Epstein's connection with prominent figures in academia, politics and business. Summers emphasized that he has learned from the controversy and is committed to transparency and accountability moving forward. His statement has reignited debate over the influence Epstein wielded across elite circles and the responsibility of leaders to uphold ethical standards. Observers say the apology highlights the broader reckoning institutions face in confronting past ties to Epstein and ensuring integrity in their leadership. President Donald Trump has signaled that the United States may launch military strikes against Mexican drug cartels following recent boat attacks. Speaking on the escalating threat, Trump described the cartels as a growing danger to American security and vowed that his administration would take decisive action if necessary. He emphasized that the U.S. will not tolerate criminal organizations targeting its citizens or interests. The remarks have sparked debate among policymakers and analysts, with some warning that cross-border military action could strain relations with Mexico. Others argue that a strong response is needed to curb cartel violence and protect U.S. communities. As discussions intensify, Trump's comment highlights the administration's willingness to expand its security measures beyond domestic borders in the fight against organized crime. Russia has made significant advances in Ukraine's southeastern Zaporizhia region, intensifying fears of a worsening humanitarian crisis. Reports indicate that Moscow's forces are closing in on the strategic town of Hulialipol, deploying glide bombs and heavy artillery to obscure ground movement. The front line has shifted closer to Zaporizhia city, now just 40 kilometers away, leaving residents anxious as missile and drone strikes continue to damage infrastructure and force evacuations. Ukrainian officials warn that the situation is becoming increasingly dire, with 3/4 of the region already under Russian occupation since 2022. Human rights groups say the latest offensive underscores the urgent need for international support to protect civilians and stabilize the area. As fighting escalates, the Zaporizhia region remains a focal point in the broader conflict, highlighting both the resilience of Ukraine's defense and the devastating toll of Russia's ongoing military campaign. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to visit Turkey in a renewed effort to resuscitate stalled peace negotiations amid ongoing war with Russia. The trip underscores Kyiv's determination to seek diplomatic solutions while continuing to defend its territory. Officials say discussions will focus on Turkey's role as a mediator, given its unique position of maintaining ties with both Ukraine and Russia. The visit comes at a critical time as fighting intensifies on several fronts and international pressure mounts for a sustainable ceasefire. Zelensky is expected to meet with Turkish leaders to explore pathways for dialogue, humanitarian support, and regional stability. Analysts believe the outcome of these talks could shape the next phase of diplomatic engagement in the conflict, offering a potential opening for renewed negotiations. You're still watching The World in 30 Minutes live on Politics and Business Television. Still to come, Delhi car bombing accused spotted ahead of court appearance. Stay with us. Welcome back. China has suspended the release of Japanese films in its cinemas, escalating tensions in an ongoing diplomatic row over Taiwan. Authorities in Beijing say the move reflects growing frustration with Tokyo's stance on the sensitive issue, which China views as interference in its internal affairs. The suspension is expected to impact cultural exchanges in the entertainment industry, with several anticipated Japanese titles now pulled from distribution. The decision has drawn mixed reactions, with critics warning it could further strain bilateral relations between the two Asian powers. Analysts note that the suspension underscores how political disputes are increasingly spilling into cultural and economic spheres. As the Taiwan issue continues to dominate regional diplomacy, the halt in film releases highlights the broader consequences of the standoff between Beijing and Tokyo. India is reportedly reluctant to hand over former Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to face a death penalty sentence in her home country. Analysts suggest New Delhi's hesitation stems from diplomatic sensitivities, human rights considerations, and the potential regional fallout of such a move. India has long maintained close ties with Bangladesh, and returning Hasina under these circumstances could strain relations and draw international criticism. Observers note that India's position reflects broader broader concerns about capital punishment and its implications for political stability and relations and draw international criticism. Observers note that India's position reflects broader concerns about capital punishment and its implications for political stability in South Asia. Human rights groups have also urged restraint, warning that extradition in this case could undermine democratic processes and fuel unrest. As the debate continues, India's stance highlights the delicate balance between respecting bilateral agreements and upholding international norms on justice and human rights. In another development, the accused in the recent Delhi car bombing has been seen ahead of his scheduled court appearance, drawing heightened public and media attention. Security forces confirmed his transfer under tight surveillance as authorities prepared to present charges related to the deadly blast that shook the capital. The incident has sparked widespread concern over urban safety and the growing threat of extremist violence in India's major cities. Officials say the court proceedings will be closely monitored, with additional security measures put in place to prevent any disruptions. The case has become a focal point for discussions on counterterrorism strategies and the need for stronger intelligence coordination. As the accused faces trial, the outcome is expected to set a precedent for how India confronts acts of terror and ensures justice for victims. Meanwhile, an onboard video has captured the tragic crash of a plane carrying a minister from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The footage, which surfaced shortly after the incident, shows the aircraft losing control before impact, raising urgent questions about safety standards and aviation oversight in the country. Authorities have confirmed that the minister was among those on board, with investigations now underway to determine the exact cause of the crash. The video has sparked shock and concern across the DR Congo, with citizens and officials calling for accountability and improved aviation safety measures. International observers say the incident underscores the vulnerability of air travel in regions with limited infrastructure and oversight. As investigators analyze the footage, the government has pledged transparency in uncovering what led to the fatal accident and ensuring such tragedies are prevented in the future. Meanwhile, prosecutors at the International Criminal Court are demanding a life sentence as the tribunal prepares to deliver judgment in the case of a Sudanese man dubbed the Axe Murderer. The accused is facing charges of crimes against humanity and war crimes, with prosecutors arguing that his actions caused widespread terror and suffering among civilians. They insist that only the maximum penalty will reflect the gravity of the atrocities committed and serve as a deterrent against future violations. The sentencing hearing has drawn global attention, with human rights groups closely monitoring the outcome as a test of international justice. Observers say the case underscores the ICC's role in holding individuals accountable for brutal acts committed during conflict. The final verdict is expected to send a strong message about the court's commitment to ensuring justice for victims and upholding the principles of international law. And that wraps up the program, but before we go, the headlines again. Hamas rejects UN resolution, says it falls short of Palestinian demands. Trump warns of possible strikes on Mexican drug cartels after boat attacks. China holds Japanese film releases over Taiwan dispute. ICC prosecutors seek life sentence for Sudan axe murderer. For more updates and in-depth analysis, follow Politics and Business TV.English on YouTube and Facebook. Connect with us on Instagram at PMBTV_English and TikTok at PMBTV_ENG. Remember to subscribe and stay informed. From me, Fatima Abubakar Oyibo, to have a lovely day. Bye for now.